Welcome back to Property Value Podcast, the show where we talk about everything that truly adds value to a home and what buyers, sellers, and realtors need to know before making a move. I'm your host, Amanda, and today we're diving into one of the biggest factors in a home's condition, safety, and resale value, the roof. So today, we're bringing in an expert, the owner of Paragon Exterior, Max, to help us understand what really matters out there.
Hi, Max.
Hello.
I'm excited to talk to you today. Can you explain about what you do and what your company is?
Yeah, so my name's Max. I'm one of the owners of Paragon Exterior. We specialize in roofing and siding, but we are a full exterior remodeling company. So anything from roofing, siding, doors, windows, those are the main things. But having the backbone that we have in our partnerships, we can do everything. So we've done decks. We can build additions. We can pretty much do anything on the exterior of our home, but roofing, siding is our bread and butter at the moment, but we're always expanding as well.
And how long have you been in business?
So Paragon, we started in 2024. Basically, myself, a couple of my other partners, we met with our other partners and we made this partnership, Paragon Exterior. We branched off of essentially their backbone on the production end, and we had a lot of the roofing, siding knowledge. So that's why we came together. Collectively, in construction and exterior in general, we have over 25 years of experience, and that's kind of why it ended up working the way that it did and why we've been so successful already.
Nice. Very cool. Okay, so let's dive in. Let's talk about materials.
Okay.
What is the typical lifespan of different roofing materials?
So that is that could be a long answer. I'll kind of shorten it up, but there's obviously I guess where I'll start is every roof is different. So that is kind of why you'll have different materials in certain situations. Generally, you're going to see like these. This is just a standard asphalt architectural shingle. We use GAF for those. You are also going to see slate roofs, cedar shake roofs, slate being, slate, and then cedar being a wooden style shingle. Those are more old fashioned. They did last a long time, but not seeing that new much anymore. You also see metal a lot now, like a standing seam metal roof is becoming popular. They last a long time. They look very nice. And then if you have a low slope roof, we call it, or a flat roof, you're going to need a different material. So those first several materials I mentioned are for like the standard like sloped roofs. When you get into flat roofs, you obviously have to seal them differently because water on a flat surface, it will sit there. So it has to be sealed a different way. So you're going to be using different materials like TPO, EPDM, torch down. You have peel and stick materials. We always opt for like the higher grade stuff. So generally, any commercial job, we're really going to be using TPO primarily. Lasts longer, looks better. That's the bright white roofs that you see a lot. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you'll have some EPDM applications as well. But when it comes to what material to use on like a standard pitched roof, we always recommend the asphalt architectural. It's the most cost effective. It's actually the best value, best bang for your buck. So
Okay.
With GAF, you get the 50-year material warranty, being that we're certified with them, and then we offer a 15-year workmanship warranty. With the metal roof, you can expect a slightly longer like lifespan, but it has its drawbacks with like paint fading, and especially if you're surrounded by trees, you can, if sticks and stuff are falling on the roof, you can get like little dents in it and stuff like that. But it's also more expensive too,
Yeah.
so that's something to mention as well.
So question, on the flat roof, does that require a lot more maintenance because of the water sitting there? So I know you said coating it, but...
Yeah, so there is a bit more maintenance. So essentially you do want to seal coat it or silver coat it. Most people recommend every 5 years. So the difference between a flat roof and a pitched roof, like if I put asphalt architectural shingles on a pitched roof, in our area, you can expect with this new technology a good probably 30 plus years out of it. On a flat roof, you're looking at really more like 15 to 20
Okay.
as like, full lifespan. And during that time, you do want to silver coat it, which is essentially just kind of resealing it over time to make sure that, because it basically gets rolled out and you want to make sure that all of those different seams are completely sealed. Versus like, an asphalt roof on a pitch, there's really no maintenance other than just, keeping an eye on it, making sure no shingles are blowing off or anything like that.
Okay. What is the difference between asphalt shingles and architectural shingles?
So they're actually the same. So
Okay.
asphalt architectural shingles are essentially this style. They're gritty. They have the granules on them. It's like the sandy material. That's what you can see as your roof gets older. They can start to build up in the gutters. That's the first layer of protection, but then you also have asphalt, like 3-tab style shingles, which those are older style. The architectural, you can see like they're more dimensional. They have different layers. They have the shadow lines. This has an extra shadow line being UHDZ versus HDZ, but asphalt.
Shadow line?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, that's the shadow
Okay.
line there, yeah. And that's really just cosmetic, but also, the architectural shingles are a little bit thicker than the 3-tabs, and they're just the newer technology and really what everybody's using.
Are these the same?
So these are mostly the same. The difference is that is the Timberline HDZ, versus the Timberline UHDZ. So this is essentially just the standard asphalt architectural shingle. This is basically the upgraded version. So HDZ being high definition, this is ultra high definition. So
Okay.
the only differences between these two really is you have like an additional shadow line down here for cosmetics, and then these shingles are a little bit thicker, and you also get a 30-year stain guard warranty versus a 25-year, which all that means is just keeping that dark streaking, that algae off of your roof a little bit longer.
Okay.
But the application is completely the same.
Okay, cool. How can homeowners extend the life of their current roof?
That is the golden question. It's really extending the life is difficult. Really to get the longest lifespan out of your roof is really just installing it properly. So there are a lot of different layers that go up onto a roof, which we can kind of get into later, but something that a lot of people don't realize is that you need airflow in your attic. So underneath your roof, you have your attic. You generally should have some type of intake airflow. So gable vents were used a lot. Nowadays they use ventilated soffits, so to bring air in. And then the biggest thing now is instead of like attic fans or attic vents, we just do a ridge vent across the entire ridge, and that creates kind of a self-sustaining air circulation system. So that alone can really help extend the life. As far as like maintenance, there's, if you are in a heavily shaded area and you're getting moss up there, you can kind of get up there and knock the moss off. Realistically, like the GAF stain guard warranties are pretty good, so you shouldn't have much of that until like later in your life, but it's hard to necessarily extend the life. I know there are some companies that offer like coatings and whatnot, which you can do that. It's kind of up in the air whether it really does anything or not, but there are companies that offer that.
Okay, so going off of that, what maintenance mistakes lead to premature roof failure?
That's a good one. And this is something that we always try to touch on and harp on. The number one thing that you can do for your roof as a homeowner is just keep an eye on it. And whether that's you or having like us, we do free inspections, come out and take a look at it, look on the outside, look at the inside, and just make sure that there are no failure points. Because something a lot of people don't know is you can develop a roof leak pretty, like a minor roof leak and not actually see it in your home for like a year, 2 years, sometimes even 3 years, because in the attic you have layers of insulation. It has to get through all of the plywood. It might be running down a rafter, going somewhere else. So the biggest thing really is to keep an eye on it. And as soon as you notice, it beginning to start failing, which generally, like, once your roof is a certain age, like, within the first 5 years, you shouldn't have to keep an eye on it. But once it gets 10 plus is really when, we recommend once a year at least somebody look at it. But that's the biggest thing, just trying to catch that stuff early. And that's not just with roofing, that's kind of with anything in general. If you catch it early enough, you can make, less expensive repairs maybe, and that can help, extend the longevity of the roof.
Okay, so what should homeowners expect in terms of pricing for repairs versus a full replacement?
Pricing. Okay, so that's another one everybody wants to know. And that's a tricky one too, because every roof is a little bit different. So I know like a lot of people will kind of just call and ask like, hey, how much do you charge per square? And generally, I mean, that can range one. So, pricing for getting a full roof replacement can range from, as low as really like $400-500 all the way up to like $1,500 per square. So let's say you have, for simple math, if you have a 10 square roof, if you get it done for $500 a square, you're looking at $5,000. Middle range like $700-800 a square, $8,000, and then can get as high as $15,000, all for that same roof, depending on who you go with, what materials are being used. But that's kind of where, and it also it depends. Like, do you have a hipped roof? Do you have a ton of valleys? Do you have multiple dormers? Is there, what's the waste factor, etc. So that all plays a factor. When it comes to repairs, we don't generally recommend like patchwork unless, the intention is that you're getting a patch with the plan to get the full thing replaced later, just because, there's kind of a whole explanation behind that. But basically, the roof is kind of like a puzzle. So if you're maneuvering that one small area, you could be affecting other areas throughout, and you might fix a leak in one spot and then start another one somewhere else. And when we do work, we want it to be done right and have it be done, have it warrantyable, so that we can give you paperwork that says, here's a warranty. If you have any issues, you come to us, you come to GAF, you're not paying any more money. The price difference, between a patch though and a full replacement can be significant. A patch, we just did a patch and a tarp job for someone, and it was $700. That whole roof replacement, I don't remember the square count off the top, but it's going to be $25,000 maybe. So that is a question that we get a lot, is like, can I just patch this? Do I need a whole replacement? Generally, if your roof is 20 years old, never going to recommend a patch. Yeah. If you have a 5-year-old roof and those shingles are still somewhat pliable, you can probably get away with patching it up, save a little bit of money, and expect that roof to last a good amount of time.
Okay. Are there roofing upgrades that add clear value, like upgraded shingles, better ventilation, or energy efficient roofing?
That's a really good question. So the short answer is yes. And the explanation behind that is really just like, kind of like I mentioned earlier, there are many different materials you can use. There are different companies you can use. The main way to add value really is going to be on the back end with like a transferable warranty. So for us, for example, we have a 15-year workmanship warranty and then the 50-year material warranty with GAF. Both of those are transferable one time. So that means as a homeowner, when you're going to sell that home to the new person, they're getting a warranty saying, hey, you're protected for, X amount of years. If that roof's 5 years old, you still have a 10-year workmanship warranty, 40-year material warranty. So that's really where the value lies for like, new homeowners and the sellers as well. But where that stems from is the materials, because obviously if we just use generic materials, I can't offer a 15-year workmanship warranty because I don't know how long that roof's going to last, right? So it starts with doing things the right way, ice and water barrier, rakes and eaves, the correct underlayment, starter strips, full perimeter, so you get unlimited wind warranty, the ridge vent, like we mentioned, so you have proper ventilation, and then also like a good quality shingle, not just like a generic, entry level shingle.
Nice. Okay, so what technology or materials are emerging that realtors should know about? Maybe something like solar shingles?
So, yeah, that's a good question. That's it. That's an interesting one. We do work with some realtors too, so they always are kind of asking about that. Solar shingles is an option. Especially GAF manufactures a solar shingle now, which we may start installing soon, if as long as we can keep up with demand for it. But solar has always kind of had like a stigma behind it. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people don't care enough to even develop opinion about it. I used to work in solar.
Okay.
The biggest drawback in my opinion is just the fact that, like, let's say if you have 20 solar panels up there, we're gonna have to drill 60 to 100 holes in your roof. So, and that's how you attach the panels to the roof. So if all of those penetrations aren't sealed properly, I was a roof
Water.
leak investigator. I would go out because people are getting roof leaks from these solar panels.
Yep.
Because if you get the wrong crew or the wrong installer, they don't really care. They throw up the system quick, they're on to the next one. Now we're coming back out a year or two later to fix that roof leak. So that's the main drawback. I think solar in general is good. Me personally, if I was going to do it, I would build like a ground array, which I know is not like viable for a lot of people because you need space for that.
Right.
But if I was going to do it personally, that's where I would do it. Any other value adds, like from a realtor perspective, I think really just using the right materials. I think it goes back to that, just using the right system, transferable warranty, making sure it's done right, making sure it looks good. And that even goes into like the gutters too. Like a lot of homes, their gutters they have are actually too small. Like if you have a huge roof, you should have 6-inch gutters. So we can do that too. And brand new roof, brand new gutters, if you're doing fascia and even sofas and stuff like that, can really kind of spruce up the home, make it look nice in the photos, look nice in person. I think that's really where the value add is.
Okay. All right. As a realtor, when I'm showing a property, I'm looking at the roof, and I can tell if it needs some repair by like maybe the color of it, the warping, just uneven, the uneven shingles and everything. What else can a realtor? What should we be looking out for aside from that?
That's a great question. So, I mean, it sounds like you're looking out for, on the outside, almost all the right things.
Yeah, from the ground.
From the ground, yeah. So, I mean, moss growth is a big one that you can notice. That stems from, if you see like a lot of dark streaking, that is an algae growth. So if you see that, you're starting to lose the granules. That means those shingles are starting to hold moisture and you're starting to grow algae. That's a big one. The best places to look is going to be like around skylights. If there's skylights, you want to check the skylight frames. Any cuts in the roof is really where leaks develop first. So even like around chimneys is a big one. Obviously missing shingles. If there's a hole in the roof, that's a big problem. We've seen that before. Like you said, also like wavy decking. If you notice there's waves in the roof, generally what that is water has gotten under those shingles, and that wood underneath there that's supposed to be holding those shingles up is starting to rot and fail. So that creates that. And then honestly, like, and I know a lot of realtors probably don't want to do this, but the attic is the best way to see what's going on, because I have seen many hundreds, of roofs. I've looked at thousands of roofs in general, but I've seen over 100 roofs where they look good on the outside, but you go in the attic and you can find a couple of things that you didn't see on the outside. So that's always like going to be the telltale sign, and that's what we do, like a full inspection outside and attic. But it sounds like you're looking for pretty much all the right things already.
Yeah, usually like an inspector will go up in the attic and we'll check. So do you think there are things that the inspector misses if he's looking in the attic?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, if you have a good inspector, I would assume they should be able to find everything. Also, like, it probably just depends who it is, because a lot of attics, again, I've been in thousands of attics. They're not fun to be in. So sometimes
Yes.
you're crawling around, you're walking on rafters, you're, maneuvering your body in like weird ways to get into weird areas. So, I mean, the big thing is you want to do a thorough inspection. So you want to make sure you're checking all of the areas, the underside of the roof in every spot. If they're doing that, I think they should see everything. We're going to be coming out with kind of some education tips on like what to look for. So if homeowners want to do it on their own, is kind of what we're building out. They know what to look for, because there are certain things where I run into homeowners all the time. They're like, oh, I go in my attic like 5 times a year. It looks fine. And then I go up there and I'm like, well, what about this? You have cat eyes, you have amber deposits, your ventilation's bad, your soffits are completely clogged up, you have a leak right here. Like, so you do have to be looking for the right things. I do think a good inspector shouldn't miss anything. They should be able to find everything. Age of a roof is somewhat important, but realistically, like, a 20-year roof here in the Northeast versus a 20-year in like an easy, drier climate where they're not getting beat up with snow and ice and rain and wind all the time, they're going to look different. So, like, they should kind of know, like, if it's a 15-year-old roof and it looks terrible, the roof needs to be replaced. It doesn't mean like, oh, you can get 5 more years out of it.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
You can look at a roof and know how old it is?
I can give a pretty good estimate, yeah.
Okay.
And that being said, it can be tricky too, because it depends what materials you use too. Because like if you use top of the line like GAF HDZ shingles versus like a more generic entry level product, they're gonna look different. So like this in 15 years versus the generic, it's gonna look different. I can give a good estimate, but really, if a roof looks bad, it looks bad. It doesn't matter how old it is.
Yeah. Okay, so a good looking roof could actually fail as well.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I mean, because also like anybody, like my sister can go to Home Depot and buy these shingles, right? Anybody can go buy it. It depends what you put on underneath it. You can give the same materials, the same products to 10 different crews, 10 different roofing crews. You're going to get 10 different roofs. So it also depends, are you installing them correctly, right? What materials are you using? That stuff really matters. So, yeah.
Okay. So what climate related issues, wind, snow, heat, should buyers be aware of? Is there a material that can be used to better withstand this type of weather?
So in the Northeast, that's where we see it all. So the two basically toughest areas in the country is the Northeast, where we are, tri-state area essentially, plus a little bit north, and then also like Miami-Dade County, like Florida. So
Because of the hurricanes?
because of the hurricanes. So a lot of these products, they're basically rated on how well they do in those two areas. So you'll see a lot of products are like Miami-Dade County approved, right? And that's because that's the hardest test, right? If you can pass that test, you're good anywhere. But like that's kind of the thing, is it really just comes down to like doing it right. So if you have poor ventilation, that snow on your roof is going to last longer, right, in the Northeast. If you have good ventilation, it's going to melt faster, it's going to get off your roof faster. Proper sized gutters, you're not going to get ice damming and the icicles. All that stuff just really matters. Yeah, just general weather, heavy winds, heavy rains in the Northeast. You have ice, snow, even just temperatures, hot and cold. You have expansion, contraction. So, if you put a microscope up to those materials and you put a time lapse over 10 years, they're kind of going to be like wiggling around a little bit because all that stuff is moving. So, in the Northeast, ice and water barrier, rakes and eaves, all valleys around skylights. That's important because of that snow and that ice. You have to protect those areas. Rain is the easy one. If you do a roof the right way, and different states and counties and whatever, they have different requirements. for putting up a roof, but if you do a roof the right way, rain is an easy one. Wind is actually a good one. So GAF, we do a full perimeter starter shingle. So that means on the eaves, above the gutters, and then also up the sides of your home, we do a starter shingle before the architectural shingles go on. And what that does is gives you unlimited wind warranty. So a lot of companies do 110 to 130, something like that. With GAF, starter strips, eaves, and rakes, you get unlimited. So, but I mean, other than that, those are the main, and also like if you're around trees, you're going to get a lot of shade cover. So you're going to develop potential streaking, potential moss growth quicker than if you're out in the sun. That would be my thing, I guess, to dial it in a little bit is find a climate, if you're looking for somewhere to move to and the roof is a concern of yours, find a climate that's more neutral. You don't want to be completely surrounded by trees because then your roof is going to deteriorate from moss and stuff, but a good mixture somewhere in the middle, somewhere that's maybe more temperature controlled, like not extreme colds in the winter and then extreme heats in the summer. Those things matter. But that's if you're if you're deciding where to live based on how you want your roof to last.
You got it. I know you mentioned a wood material shingle.
Yeah.
Why would anybody use that? Wouldn't that soak up water?
Yeah. So the wood material cedar shake is an older. So one, it does look kind of cool when it's new. It looks nice. It was really mainly used on like nicer homes like 30 to 50 years ago. They actually last a long time, which is kind of opposite of what people would think. They're treated, and those also do come with maintenance, so you do have to maintain them. They will grow moss, they will grow algae and stuff like that, and you have to basically maintain that cedar shake roof. They were really cosmetic and lasted a long time, but just came with maintenance. Mm-hmm. The difference now, and the reason people don't do it anymore, is because it's a specialized trade, so it's hard to find people that do it. It's very, very labor intensive, and it's also, that makes it expensive. So, and especially with newer technology nowadays, if you can get 70 years out of a cedar shake roof, but pay triple the price, or just go through, 2 asphalt roofs for, less money, it kind of just doesn't make sense anymore.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the seller side of things.
Okay.
Okay. What cost-effective repairs should sellers consider before listing their home?
Cost-effective repairs, I mean, realistically, the biggest failing points on a roof are any like cuts. So that's going to be around skylights, right? There's underneath that skylight, there's a cut in the roof. Around chimneys, that's a cut, and then you put flashing around it, like an aluminum flashing. Same thing with like valleys, where 2 roofs come together, like in a valley. Those are all going to be the main areas. I would really just look at them and make sure, if your chimney's starting to leak and your roof is, let's say, 10 years old, you can maybe get away with just reflashing it. You take off the old flashing, put on new flashing, you can patch around it. And then skylights is a little trickier because skylights, you'd have to basically pull them up, remove the old flashing, kind of lift some of those shingles up around, put the new skylight, new flashing, and then kind of patch around it. So you will notice that a little bit more, especially like, if you use the same color shingles now and then you do a patch with the exact same shingles in 10 years, they're going to look different because of sun fading and just general wear and tear from the weather and whatnot. I think the main thing, I guess on the opposite side is someone looking for a home. If it's leaking, I don't want to buy it, right? So from the selling perspective, just make sure there's no active leaks really. And that being said, like if you want to be, kind of a good seller and you do notice it's leaking, maybe, you know, you can repair like, you know, just a back section or just a front section. Like you can do that stuff. Kind of like the inspector thinks, sometimes they can miss things, sometimes, you know, they get everything, but realistically, you know, as a seller, just make sure it's not leaking.
Okay, so this is actually bringing me into the next question.
Okay.
Do you recommend replacing the roof, an aging roof, before listing, or offering credit instead?
So that is the other golden question is, you know, I'm selling my home in 2 years or 1 year. I know my roof needs to get done. Should I just reduce the selling price, or should I pay for the new roof and ask for more money? Really, like, when you do it the right way, you get transferable warranties. I do believe that you would get more money back. Or not, yeah, I guess more money back, like selling it and asking for more versus listing it, you know, with a failing roof and just giving credits. And the reason I give that answer is because, like, I look at it from the perspective of me if I'm buying a home. You know, if I'm looking at, let's say, 3 different homes and 2 of them have good roofs and 1 of them has a failing roof and they're all in the same pricing range, the one with the bad roof that I know I'm going to have to spend, you know, 15, 30, whatever $1,000 replacing, that one kind of gets put down to the bottom of the list. You know, versus, let's say the other home is maybe a little bit more, and I know I'm getting, you know, let's say the roof is 5 years old, I'm getting a 10-year workmanship warranty transferred to me, I'm getting a 40-year material warranty transferred to me, and let's say I'm just only planning to be, maybe that's a starter home for me, and I just plan to be there for maybe 5 to 10 years, I don't have to think about that roof now. That other house, you know, I'm gonna have to go in every night. I'm thinking, oh, I hope a roof leak doesn't start now, or you know, where am I gonna come up with this extra money for the house? So, me personally, and honestly, Paragon as a whole, we always recommend doing the roof first. You know, in our opinion, you will get more money back on the listing price versus just taking credits off and selling it as is.
Okay, I agree. What's the most surprising roof issue you've seen impact a sale?
What do you mean by that?
Have you seen any like horrible things, issues in the roof that later maybe that seller couldn't sell the property?
I mean, yeah, all the time. That just comes down to, you know, if the inspector misses something, like the attic is the most important thing. And it's funny too, like homeowners all the time, especially like in this era, you know, post-COVID, you know, just post-COVID, so many people bought homes, like waived inspections.
Yep.
So they have no idea what their attics look like. So you know, it's harder for me to say, like, have I seen sales fall through? The answer is yes. I've seen more of like homeowners kind of regret, not completely regretting, but kind of making like, you know, thinking regretfully about their purchase of the home because they find out now a year or 2 after buying it that they need to spend $20,000, $30,000 on a roof. And that's never fun. You know, you get a new mortgage, you're moving things in, you probably, you know, you buy this, you buy that, and now the roof too. And the roof, you know, nobody really wants to do a roof. It's not the fun thing to do. You know, everybody wants to do the kitchens and the bathrooms and build a deck and put a pool. Like, nobody wants to do a roof. So, but yeah, I have seen, we've done some inspections for some homeowners actually, and the attic inspections weren't done. So when we did them and we found stuff, they were like, thank you so much. I'm actually passing on this home now because of those, you know, failing points that you found.
Okay, so if a homeowner has the budget for only one improvement in the entire house, what do you think it should be? Should it be the roof?
I think it depends. I mean, if multiple things, I guess, are failing at once, is that kind of like if it's an outdated kitchen and, you know, the floors are kind of coming up and the roof is also failing, which one do you do first? My opinion, yes, would be the roof. And the reason being is because, if you get a brand new kitchen or you put in brand new floors and then you get a roof leak and it ruins your kitchen and it ruins your floors, now you got to redo your kitchen and get the roof, right? And now you're scrambling, like that's a big thing. Like, once you see a roof leak in your house, it's too late. You're scrambling now. But yeah, the roof protects all of those other things. So if that's, the question, do I do a roof? Do I redo my old outdated kitchen? Do I redo my floors? I'm going to say a roof every time because that's protecting all of that stuff. You want to start there. It's not, the fun thing. It's maybe not what a homeowner might want to hear, but it is the important thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and make sure that all of, your other investments, because that's what they are, everything else in your home is protected first.
Okay. Do you want to show us the process?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll kind of run through quickly, what a roof looks like behind the shingles and how it goes up. So before I get into that, every roofing company, most roofing companies are a little different in one way or another. The way we do things is, we try to do it the right way, put up a quality product, make sure it's going to last. We are not, a lot of roofing companies nowadays are really like sales companies, and they just happen to sell roofs. We're a roofing company first, so when we put up a roof, we want to do it the right way, make sure it's going to last. Very first things we do is we're gonna, our team is gonna walk the perimeter, make sure there's nothing around the home like grills or decorations or lights or whatever that could potentially be damaged, because you're gonna have a lot of stuff just flying off the roof. So materials are gonna come generally the day before. Dumpster is gonna come day before or day of to collect all the old materials. We're gonna do that walk around, make sure nothing can be damaged. Then we're gonna set up. We have a couple systems. We have a catch-all system that basically we set up around the home, so as we're taking off the material, it all kind of ends up in one area, makes a nice quick easy cleanup. Sometimes we use tarps. It kind of depends on the roof, but our first main concern is making sure that the home is protected. Set up that catch system, and then we're going to send the guys up. They're going to start removing all of the material. So everything comes off: shingles, underlayment, ice and water, down to the decking. That's going to be that flat wooden surface up there, and then they're going to inspect that whole surface. So there are times where we do our attic inspection. You can't see everything, so sometimes you do need decking replaced. Generally, most roofs right now on averaging 3 8 foot by 4 foot sheets of plywood replaced. So any rotting areas are getting replaced no matter what. Sometimes if you wait too long to do your roof, you're going to have to do a full redeck, which that's going to add thousands, depending on the size of your roof, thousands of dollars. Each sheet of plywood is over $100. So 20 square roof has 60 sheets of plywood, you're looking at an extra $6,000. So that's another reason to be a little bit more proactive. But getting into the material, so once the deck is good, you're going to get into the first layer, which this is going to be ice and water. So ice and water barrier in the Northeast, this is code. Yeah, and it's kind of like a thick like skateboard grip tape, but it's more waterproofed. We put this, so it's required on all eaves. We put this on eaves, rakes, we put it on valleys, we put it around skylights, around chimneys, any roof penetrations, because those are all the main, first failure points essentially. So it's going to essentially perimeter the home, and then you're going to get into the underlayment. So this is going to cover the rest of the decking. What 98% of roofs that we're tearing off now have is tar paper. So this is felt paper. You can literally just rip it. This is literally what's protecting your roof.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And this is what you're putting in.
Well, so this is one part, but then, so we're putting up this. So this is synthetic. So try to rip this.
Oh, okay. I already could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah. No, it's.
So you can literally if I try to tear this, I literally can't at all.
Okay.
And then, you also have versus that. You also have a lot of guys are using something called Felt Buster, and this is kind of just your entry-level synthetic where there's, this is basically just a paper bag, or sorry, a plastic bag. You can really feel the difference. Yeah, try it.
I mean, it's still.
You can't rip it. The difference between these two is
Yeah.
that this is semi-permeable. So this allows some, if any moisture does get behind the shingles, it allows the roof to breathe a little bit, versus this is essentially like covering your
Right.
home in a plastic bag, so it can't breathe. So entry level, we do the Tiger Paw. You do have a step up, called Deck Armor, a little bit more expensive. Realistically, the difference between these two, in our opinion, is negligible. So, the amount of money, extra money you're spending versus these two, not really worth it. Some people don't care. They're just like, give me the best everything, whatever. But these two are really actually the most expensive components of the roof, like, for the amount of square footage that they cover. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to be replacing pipe boots. So all those little like white pipes that you see coming out of the roof, brand new ones. Those are usually ventilating from like bathrooms or kitchens. They just, exhaust things from the home. Brand new. We're going to be doing new flashings around chimneys. So we don't reuse any flashings. We're also going to be doing drip edge, which I don't have a drip edge in here, but drip edge is essentially, it's, about a 3-inch piece of aluminum that's bent in a certain way that perimeters your entire roof, helps divert water away. Brand new drip edge. Skylights. Generally, we recommend replacing skylights. Some people want to keep the ones that they have. We're always going to really recommend replacing them, unless they're like brand new. But you can reuse them and reflash them. I would say 90% of our roofs, we're completely replacing them. They're a little bit expensive. Flashing them properly, they're going to last with the roof. And then we're going to get into the actual next layer of the roof. So this is going to be your starter strip. So this is kind of what I was speaking about earlier that gives you the unlimited wind warranty. So this is the first shingle. This is also going to perimeter the home. And this is the one that I mentioned. We put it on all of the eaves, so the bottoms above the gutters, and then also up the rakes. That's going to perimeter the home. And then you have the asphalt architectural shingle. So this is the, Timberline HDZ. This is what we're putting on 90% of homes. This gets nailed in at the bottom. You have adhesive. You also have adhesive on the back of this shingle. It's going to line up basically like this, and then this is going to get nailed in again up here. So we're already there. Most people don't even realize all of those components go into a roof. You just see the shingles, and that's all that people think about. But that's all of the shingle installation, and then you're going to get into the ridge vent. So up at the top of your roof, there's actually a cut. So it doesn't just come to a close like this at the top. There should be a cut about 2-3 inches up there to allow that exhaust air. A lot of people, if they have a ridge vent, they have this, which is basically like a Brillo pad. The problem with these is they kind of collapse over time. They get, you have dust and moisture in your attic. These can get clogged up. They don't work as well. So we do this is called the Snow Country Ridge Vent. So this bends over the top of your roof. It's high grade plastic. Obviously it's gonna last forever. And so this is one of the products that is famously known for passing in Miami-Dade County. So, and also in the Northeast, but people ask us all the time, like, oh, is water gonna get in here? Is snow gonna get in here? No. The short answer is no. And it's designed that way, but this bends over the top. This gets hand nailed in. And then you have actually a different shingle. So this is a hip and ridge shingle. So this is rubber infused. It's meant to bend. So
that goes on top of that.
Yep, exactly. This goes on top of this, bends over the top, also gets hand nailed in. It actually does look nice from the ground. You get kind of like a nice ridge outline with the Snow Country Ridge Vent. But like I said earlier too, like, anybody can really buy this stuff. So it does matter who's installing it. And just little details like the difference between, a full perimeter starter shingle versus just putting it on the eaves is 110 mile per hour wind warranty versus unlimited, right?
Okay.
Ice and water on eaves, rakes, valleys, around skylights, chimneys, like all of those make a difference. Yes, they cost us a little bit more money, but we're not worried about that. We want to, put the product up the right way. So, are you kind of surprised seeing how many like actual components there are that go into it? Yeah.
I had no idea there were that many layers.
It's a lot. Yep.
Okay. Are there different kinds of colors that you guys offer?
Yeah.
Like what?
So, these are two. So this is Mission Brown, HDZ. We have Weathered Wood. We have a couple others over here. My favorite color is Hickory, which is actually that one right there. It's like the right there, the brown one, the dark brown. Yeah. Yeah. So this is my favorite color, Hickory. You get obviously a much better idea of it when it's like on a roof. But there's pretty much every shade of brown you can think of, every shade of gray you can think of. There's charcoal, which is like almost a black. You can get a blue roof, you can get a red roof. The colors are pretty extensive, and here's the color book so you can see.
What's the most popular one?
The most popular is going to be the grays. So like oyster gray is a big one, pewter gray. Those are definitely the most common. And then the browns, but we have done a couple of the blue. You have Biscayne blue, you have Patriot red. I don't think we've done a green roof yet, but we had one guy, it was funny. Another question we get a lot is like, do the darker shingles like absorb more heat? Like, will that affect my home? And maybe a little bit. Like if you have a black shingle versus like a white shingle. But realistically, all of the shingles are manufactured to, avoid that and reflect as much heat as possible.
What about charcoal?
We had one guy, you have charcoal shingle. That's the darker. But we had one guy who he was set on the fact that the lighter shingle has to reflect more light, so he wanted it, but he didn't like the way it looked. So what he did was on the front of his home, I forget exactly what color he did, but he did like a darker brown. Mm-hmm. So either I think Mission Brown or Hickory. And then on the back of his home where he can never see the roof, he put Fox Hollow Gray. So we did a two-tone roof.
I can't imagine that looks good.
Yeah, it was interesting. It's funny like telling people about it, but realistically, like, the shingle color, we always try to match with, the siding, which we do siding too. So oftentimes, like, we'll get like a full 3D render and we'll show the different colors together, what goes with what. But yeah, the colors are pretty extensive.
Have you ever seen like the blue roofs? I think it's like a metal blue roof, and I feel like people use that to like reflect radiation or something.
I have seen blue metal roofs. Not my favorite. Do you mean like
it doesn't
royal
look great.
blue?
No, not royal blue. Like light blue.
I have seen them. I don't know much about them like reflecting radiation or anything.
I heard
they
that.
may,
I just want.
but it might be one of those things too, where you get those people that kind of have like their roofing conspiracies that no matter what you tell them, kind of like the one guy that I was talking about, like no matter what you tell him, like he's set on like, I know for a fact that this roof will reflect radiation. So it's maybe it's true, maybe it's not. I'm not sure.
Okay, are you ready for rapid fire?
Let's do it.
Okay, quick question.
Okay.
Quick questions,
you
quick
just
answers.
want quick answers? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, what's the first roof problem you've noticed from the street?
Definitely streaking, moss, algae growth.
Okay.
Missing shingles.
Biggest red flag buyers overlook?
Biggest red flag, patch jobs. Definitely patchwork.
Okay. Most common roof issue you see?
Just general negligence, letting it go too long.
Okay. Most expensive mistake homeowners make with roofs?
Letting the roof go too long, because if it starts leaking, it costs more money in the future. Yeah, letting it go.
Okay. Can a roof look fine but still be failing?
Absolutely. Yep.
Number one cause of roof leaks?
tricky one, little bit of everything. Nail pops, missing shingles. You might even just have a hole in your roof that you don't even know about.
Okay. And then one question every buyer should ask about the roof.
Can I look in the attic, please? Or can I have Paragon look in the attic for me?
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah,
This was
appreciate
fun.
it. Yeah, it was nice. It was nice to meet you. Yeah.